Hi, welcome to the Gamesplainer. I'm Jeff the Gamesplainer, and today I'm gamesplaining Snowdonia. Snowdonia is a 1 to 5 player worker placement game put out by Indie Boards and Cards. This is a full-size game. It has a board, it goes on the table. The reason I'm saying that is I've got a lot of games from Indie Boards and Cards. Indie Boards and Cards usually do this size game. I really like their games. Their Resistance, Coup, Grifters are some of my favourite filler games. And larger group games. Grifters isn't a large group, but they're some of my favourite games. But Snowdonia took me by surprise. It's not a filler game. It's an actual full-size game. I'm so excited to see Indie Boards and Cards doing full-size games. The thing that really surprises me is this is actually a 2013 game. It's an older game. It's been around for like 4 years, and I've only just come across it. In fact, I had to look really hard to find this game, and it was worth it. If you can get yourself a copy of Snowdonia, do it. It's such a good little game. It is a worker placement game. Now, Snowdonia is an area in Wales, I'm led to believe, and what's happening is it's a mountain. They're building a train track from the bottom of the mountain all the way up to the top, and along that train track there are stations. So you're working together along this one line of rail to excavate all the rubble, and each of the cubes of rubble that you excavate are valuable resources that you can turn into things to use for other things. Every few cards there's a station, and on the station there's some more rubble spots that you can remove, and when you're the last person to remove a rubble cube from one of those spots on the station, you put one of your markers there and you get the points for it. So there's a real thinkiness to the timing of when you remove rubble. So if you're the first person to remove rubble, the other guy might have a chance to take the last piece and actually get the points for all that rubble that you've been removing. Or you can go, okay, they're going to remove rubble, I can sneak in and grab that last one so I can claim it. Now, with that rubble removal, there's actually a tracker that tells you how much is going to get removed each turn, and that changes depending on the weather. I had a look through the deck, and about half of the deck is inclement weather, and only a quarter of it is sunny, and the other quarter is fog. When it's fog, you can't remove any rubble at all. And so when that weather comes through, you can actually see what the weather pattern's going to do. You can see the bad weather coming up, and so you can kind of judge, okay, the track is going to move downwards when it's raining, it moves upwards fairly substantially when it's sunny. And you can work out how much rubble is going to be able to be removed in the next turn, as well as the turn you're on at the moment. And that's really important to look at and think about, because what you're trying to do is make sure that you're the person who's able to take the last couple of bits of rubble to get the points on that. If someone else is going to remove the rubble from the train lines, there's no points in that, but the points are in laying of the track. So you need to also turn some of the resource that you pick up, or that you're able to pick up as one of the actions, turn that into the steel bars, or metal bars, I think I've been calling them through the videos, the steel bars, and they turn into the railway. Now be careful with this when you're gamesplaining. The steel bars are just, they're single little bits of wood, as you know, as with everything. You've got cubes in this, and you've got little bits of this rectangular wood, and what they look like is, they actually look like one track of a set of train tracks. So I have had the question a couple of times, oh, do I need to get 2 of these to be able to lay a train track? No, the answer is no. You only have to get 1 of them, and that works as the train track. So the steel bars are not train line, they are the steel that is used for the train line. But when you once the rubble's been cleared, anyone is able to then grab the space that will help enable them to build the train line, and one of those steel bars, you turn the card over, you claim those points. So the more rubble had to be removed from a spot, the more points that train line bit is worth. On each of the stations, there are also spots where you can spend stone to build part of the station, and once again, that's worth points at the end of the game when you do it, or you can put steel bars into some of the train station areas, and that, once again, is worth points. So there's a heap of points within the entire train line, and that works this way. It's just cards that are laid on the outside of the main board, and that works all the way up to the top of the game. Finishes when the last bit of train line has been laid. Fairly straightforward, but this timing on when to do things is really important, and then actually noticing which of the station ones that are available. Make sure you're looking up the train line to see which of those squares is actually worth more points, because spending 3 stone might be worth 6 points on this train, but it might also be worth like 9 points on that one. So it's worthwhile watching out for that. On top of all that, there are some what they call contract cards, and they're basically bonus cards at the end of the game for what you've done. And if you've collected rubble but not turned it into the stone that it turns into when you do that particular space, these cards are looking for you to put rubble onto them and basically say, I've collected this much rubble, I've dug this much rubble out to say that I have finished this card, and that will be worth points at the end. If you've laid enough track, that's worth points at the end. If you've built enough buildings, or sections of the train line, that can be worth points. And what it's looking for is combinations of those different elements of building to give you extra points, and there can be uber points. Like I think there was one of the cards had 20 something points on it for doing a heap of rubble and just a couple of tracks. And within those cards as well, there's a one-off action that's written. So you take it, you go, okay, one-off action, do the one-off action, and then you're working to try and get the extra points as well. Every turn, we pull out of this bag some more resource. The resource is only coal, stone, and iron ore. So there's only 3 types of resource in the bag that you're able to grab as one of the spots. But you're only grabbing a certain number out of the bag each time. Whenever you spend them, they go back in the bag. So the ratios of what's in that bag at any one time is going to shift and adjust according to what's being used a lot. But when you're taking these cubes out of the bag, there's white cubes, and they are event markers, and there's this little track of events that will happen. And what that events do is, there's a couple of things they do, but the main thing they do is they force you to move your way up the track. They force you to dig. So you can't just sit there spending time taking contract cards and doing other things. They force the game forward. So one of the events will be that there's excavation for the amount that is available, so it might be 2 squares, it might be 4, whatever. And you take that many cubes off. No one gets to claim those rubble, but it clears up a little bit more space. So that's forcing you forward. But on that event tracker, there's also one of the events, it releases trains. And there's these trains or engines that sit along the bottom of the board. And you can spend some steel bars to claim one of those trains. When you claim a train, you get some coal, but you also get the ability to pay 1 coal to release a 3rd worker out of the pub that sits on the board. So that's really worthwhile doing. You don't have to do it to win, but man, it helps. So having that in mind, and then one of the events will be that you have to actually pay some more metal for the train that you have, or return the train. So it's going to force that kind of, I've got to get metal, steel bars, sorry, I keep saying metal bars, it's steel bars in the rulebook. I do apologise, please just take that on board. Metal, steel, in here, they're the same thing. If you're a metal-y person and understand all that different type of stuff, forgive me. Okay, moving on. So that is, you've got to pay for these trains a second time if you've got them, or think about the timing on when you go and grab them, and don't grab it until that event's happened. So there's only 5 or 6 of these white cubes in the bag altogether. Once the 4th one comes out, the first 3 go back in the bag, so they're going to rotate through again, and that happens again. So another 3 come out on the 4th one after that. That one stays there. Those 3 go back in the bag, and it keeps rotating like that, so that these white cubes will continue to push the game forward no matter what the players at the table are doing. The other thing that's really easily looked over is there's a thing called the surveyor, and what the surveyor is, you move a token up through each of the stations. It can be easily overlooked and kind of viewed as a kind of pass action, I guess, because any number of players are able to use it. But there's heaps of points on it. If you can get your surveyor all the way to the top, it's worth like 21 points at the end of the game. Whereas if you only move him 1 station, he's only worth 1 point. So pushing him forward through that track can actually be the difference between winning and not winning the game. There's a lot going on in this game. I'm so glad that I found this, and that I went out of my way to actually find it online and get it and play it. It took me a little while to get to the table. I'm not going to lie to you. The name doesn't conjure up anything here. My wife, who's from the UK, as soon as she heard that word Snowdonia, oh, that's Wales, I know that place, I've been there. I was like, oh, cool, okay, we've got something to cling on to. Thematically, there's something to cling on to. And that's really cool. I kind of like when that happens. So anyone who is aware of Snowdonia, that's going to give you something to cling on to and work with. I heavily suggest searching this game out if you haven't come across it yet. Do watch my videos to get a feel for the game and how it plays. If you like worker placement games, this is actually a really good one. There's not a whole bunch going on, but there's a lot to think about, and it's super tight. The one brilliant thing they've done is they've got cards that get placed over the top of the worker placement spaces, so that depending on how many players you have, your board is going to look slightly different every time. So there's some cards that, in a 1 to 3 player game, there might only be 1 spot available, but a 4 to 5 player game, there's 2 or 3 spots available. That's a really, really well thought through game design, and I really like that, and I appreciate that, because it means that we're not stuck with a thing like in viticulture, which I actually don't mind in viticulture, where there's 3 possible spots on worker placement spots, but on a 2 player game you've only got 1 of them. On a 3 to 4 player game you get 2 of them, and then on the higher count, 5 and 6 players, you get all 3 of them available. And what that does is every space has the same weighting, whereas on this game every space has different weighting. So some of the spaces you're only going to be able to send 1 guy to across the entire, in everyone playing, and some you'll be able to spend 3 to. It's finding that different weight on the spaces is actually really important in this game, and I really appreciate that. So look, I think I've talked about this one long enough. I hope that my videos help you get Snowdonia to the table and help you get a feel for Snowdonia. If you have any comments or suggestions, please write them below. If you have any games that you wish to be gamesplayed, please shoot me an email at thegamesplainer@gmail.com. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter to see what games I'm playing. I've just started doing a blog of a year of gaming, because that's what my Instagram account is all about. So please look me up. It's thegamesplainer.wordpress.com. Look that up, follow me, subscribe to my videos to keep up to date with the games that I'm gamesplaining, and until next time, enjoy gaming.